Chapter 4. The Man Who Broke Troy. The war did not end quickly. The Greeks had crossed the sea expecting Troy to fall. Instead, they found walls that would not break. Year after year, the armies fought outside the city. Men died in the fields. Ships rotted along the shore. Kings argued in the Greek camp. Troy endured. Achilles became the weapon everyone had hoped he would be. When he entered battle, Trojans fell back. He was fast, brutal, almost impossible to stop. But even Achilles could not win the war alone. The Greeks had strength. They had ships. They had kings. What they did not have was unity. Pride kept damaging them from the inside. That became clear when Achilles and Agamemnon turned against each other. Their argument split the Greek army at the worst possible time. Achilles withdrew from battle. Without him, the Greeks suffered. The Trojans pushed harder. Greek confidence began to crack. Odysseus was sent with others to persuade Achilles to return. They brought gifts, promises, honor. Achilles refused. He had been insulted, and he would not be managed like a weapon passed from one commander to another. The war dragged on. Then Patroclus entered the fighting, wearing Achilles' armor. For a moment, the Greeks believed Achilles had returned. So did the Trojans. But the illusion did not last. Patroclus was killed by Hector. That death changed everything. Achilles came back to the battlefield with grief turned into violence. He hunted Hector. He killed him outside the walls of Troy. The Greeks had their greatest warrior again, but Troy still did not fall. Even Achilles could not tear the city open. Later, Achilles himself died near the gates of Troy. The man Odysseus had found on Skyros was gone. The warrior who had seemed larger than the war had been swallowed by it. His armor became the next battle. Not against Troy, against the Greeks. Ajax claimed it. He had fought for years. He had stood like a wall when other men broke. Few warriors had given more of their strength to the war. Odysseus claimed it too. He had fought. He had gone on embassies. He had led dangerous missions. He had survived by judgment, timing, and nerve. The Greeks chose Odysseus. Ajax was humiliated. To him it proved that words had beaten strength. Not long afterward, Ajax was dead. The armor belonged to Odysseus, but the victory left damage behind. That was what Troy had become. Even success carried a cost. After 10 years, the city still stood. Achilles was dead. Ajax was dead. Patroclus was dead. Thousands of men were gone. The Greeks could keep fighting for another 10 years and still die outside the same walls. Odysseus saw the problem clearly. Troy could not be broken from the outside. It had to be opened from within. That was when Odysseus thought of a different kind of attack. Not a charge, not a siege tower, not another duel outside the gates. A trick. The Greeks would build a giant wooden horse. It would be massive, impressive, strange enough to be remembered, large enough to hide warriors inside. Then the Greeks would pretend to give up. They would burn parts of their camp, drag their ships into the sea, leave the horse behind as a prize, a sign that the Greeks had finally accepted defeat. If the Trojans believed it, they would do what 10 years of war had never allowed the Greeks to do. They would open their own gates. The plan was dangerous. If the Trojans burned the horse, the men inside would die. If they broke it open, the plan would fail. If one hidden warrior made a sound at the wrong moment, Troy would know the truth. But after 10 years of failure, danger was no longer enough reason to stop. The Greeks built the horse. The selected warriors climbed inside. Odysseus went in with them. Then the rest of the army prepared the lie. They made the camp look abandoned. They launched the ships. They sailed away. Not far, just far enough to disappear. When morning came, the Trojans looked down from their walls and saw the Greek camp empty. No army, no siege lines, no warriors waiting below. Only the wooden horse. Some Trojans feared a trap. Others wanted proof that the war was over. After 10 years of fear, they wanted victory they could touch. So they opened the gates. The same gates the Greeks had failed to break for a decade. The Trojans dragged the horse inside. That night, Troy celebrated. The city filled with music, voices, and relief. Inside the horse, the Greeks waited in darkness. No one could move carelessly. No one could speak. One mistake would ruin everything. When the city finally slept, the hidden door opened. Odysseus and the warriors climbed down into Troy. They moved through the streets. They reached the gates. They opened them from the inside. Outside the walls, the Greek fleet had returned. The army poured into the city. Troy woke too late. By morning, the war was over. Odysseus had done what Achilles could not. He had broken Troy without breaking its walls. It was his greatest victory. It was also the victory that marked him forever. The war had begun with armies, kings, and heroes. It ended with an idea from Odysseus, a hollow horse, a false retreat, a gate opened in the dark. Odysseus had won by deception, and once Troy fell, that kind of victory did not leave him behind. It followed him. The Greeks could finally sail home. For Odysseus, home meant Ithaca, Penelope, Telemachus, peace. But the man who left Troy was not the same man who had left Ithaca. He had survived 10 years of war. He had outlasted heroes stronger than himself. He had learned how to win through patience, lies, and dangerous choices. Now he had to cross the sea, and the sea would test every part of him.